Reynolds, as I often refer to him, is this team's best everyday player. Reynolds also happens to be a very good player. What he's not, I'm okay with this, is a star. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Pirates won, Reds 0 yesterday on a sweltering day at PNC Park, and that goes double for that greenhouse of a press box up there. Not to complain, first world problems in that. The result was what counted, and the result was made whole by Reynolds hitting his 10th home run of the season. Straightaway center, got all of it, validated Mitch Keller's 7+ scoreless innings, validated Colin Holderman and David Bednar, putting the pitching line to rest, and extended a 17-game hitting streak, which is the longest active streak in Major League Baseball. And Reynolds is doing the thing that he always does in June. And that is, of course, to just go completely berserk. Hitting .346 since June 1, 24 for 70 with 3 home runs and 7 doubles. I mean, he's been outstanding. And yet, you can look overall at his numbers and find yourself occasionally being disappointed or even doubting whether or not he was worth the gazillion-dollar extension that the Pirates signed him to at the beginning of the 2023 season after an insane opening week. To me, he is, because I look at Reynolds as the price of doing business. In order to win, and to win consistently, and to contend, and to at least, put yourself in some kind of position to win championships, you don't need one Reynolds, you need 2 or 3 of them. And the Pirates' main problem right now is that they only have the one. There is nothing more valuable in the beautiful game of baseball than consistency, than predictability, even if that predictability comes with predictable pitfalls. Think of it this way. Reynolds' current stats, meaning for the season, are .271 batting average, 10 home runs, 40 RBIs. Last season, he batted .263 with 24 home runs and 84 RBIs. Same pace as this. Season before that, down just a teensy-weensy bit, .262 average, 27 home runs, and the RBIs were way down, although that's not in your control, at least not that much. 2021, a .302 average, 24 home runs, 90 RBIs. This is who he is, and he's this year after year after year. He's durable. He's out there in the outfield laying out. He's logging more innings in the field, more plate appearances in the box than anyone else on the roster. Also comes with great value. So before anyone is ever moved to complain about Reynolds when he goes into his slumps, and he's already had a couple of extended ones this season, and he's going to have a couple more, probably not until, the second or third week of August, because everything with him happens on a lunar clock, it seems. But compare what you're getting from him to what you're getting from Bryan Hayes. They don't have identical contracts, but they were put together in the same spirit. They were both expected to be foundational pieces. Again, not necessarily spectacular pieces or superstars, but foundational. Guys upon whom you could build or around whom you could build. Reynolds has lived up to exactly what he was. And he's not going to grow out of that. He's not going to morph out of that. He wants to. He's a perfectionist. He pushes himself as hard as anyone in that clubhouse to excel. I have no doubt in my mind that Reynolds would be extremely comfortable in some sort of long-term star-type position based on how he carried himself, really, as I think back to the early part of 2023 and even to some of his hotter runs in 2021 and 2022. This is a guy who'd be okay with all of that, might actually even enjoy it a little bit. But that's not what's going on. He is exactly this, and he's worth every penny of what he's being paid because of that. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Derek, who says, DK, are we confident in Derek Shelton? He's lost some questionable and close games. His lineups will drive any old school baseball fan up a wall, and then he pinch hits with Jack Sawinski or Yasmani Grandal. Could there be a higher number in the win column with another manager? Derek, my easy, lazy way to answer this is that I don't ever tell other people how to feel or even advise other people how to feel. So are we confident in Derek Shelton is up to you and everyone else listening. My own sentiment is that he falls in line a little too easily with his extraordinarily passive general manager. And I've got kind of a problem with that because I've also covered managers right here in Pittsburgh who haven't been that way, who've stood their ground in certain situations, who said, hey, you got to get me something here, or what do you expect me to do with this guy or this situation or that situation? If that's ever occurred in any form between Shelton and Ben Cherington, I'm wholly unaware of it, and by the way, don't expect to be made aware of it, from what I know. But I also can carve up your question in some pieces there. You say that Shelton's lost some questionable and close games. Yes, he's had a couple of decisions that absolutely backfired right in front of everyone. And I'm not just talking about the obvious ones, where you bring in a bullpen guy and the bullpen guy blows up and everyone says, why did he bring in that guy? Well, because the guy was out there. That's why. And you can't keep bringing in the same guys. The next thing you say is lineups will drive any old school baseball fan up a wall. Well, to that I say, respectfully, Derek, too bad. Because baseball's changed just like society has changed. And a lot of that's legitimate enlightenment for the sport. The ideas that everything has to remain the same in baseball because that's how we remember doing stuff or learning stuff when we were children it's just not even an argument. It's not even an argument. You put your best hitter in the number 2 spot. Why? Because the math is overwhelming in favor of that. You don't really care as much today as you did years ago about the cleanup spot. Why? Well, because the numbers bear it out. The other thing you bring up here is Suwinski and Grandal being used as pinch hitters. But, dude, you're standing there at the edge of the dugout railing. You look to your left, and you see who your choices are to pinch hit. And who do you have? I mean, you can't, and I'm being nice here, okay? You can't say he shouldn't hit Suwinski or Grandal without putting forth who he should have hit. Because if you can't do that, then what you're really saying is that you're not confident in the general manager. Let me throw out something here at you, Derek, and I don't know how you'll feel about this either, actually, or this whole answer, but that's just the nature of this program. One of the things that I always feel like is that fans are going to be quicker to be angry or disappointed in the field manager than they are in the general manager, because the field manager is a real entity to them. You see him at the ballpark. He's right there in front of you. You even have an opportunity to cheer or boo him whenever he goes out for a pitching change, whatever. The same thing applies to watching games on television. There's his face. You probably see his face 25 times over the course of a given game broadcast. Do you see Cherington? No. It's almost like he doesn't exist. If it wasn't for people like me writing about him and writing his moves, or in his case, non-moves, you wouldn't really be aware of him at all. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. I say this also as it relates to football and hockey. You see the coaches. You don't see the executives. The game is happening, and you're watching it, and the other team has scored, and you're ticked off, and you see the coaches there, you see the managers, and they're just bad people because you're mad. And I'm not suggesting, or even coming close to suggesting, that Shelton is some perfect manager or that he should even hold his job after this season is done. I am saying that the GM has way more to do with most of the things that people complain about as it relates to Shelton. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. Enjoy the off day today. No baseball to complain about. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.